oppressed. What recourse do they have? Because from your definition, they do not have recourse to jihad. Secondly, in the New York Times today, it's reported that the Palestinian negotiator, Erekat, is saying that with the settlement renewal, that he feels they should go to the United Nations to be recognized as a state, the Palestinians. Yet this article also says that the Arab states, America and the Arab states, advise against doing that. And I'd like to know your opinion.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Answering the second question first, I will endorse this recommendation that they should go to United Nations to be recognized by the state, by United Nations as a state, so that they may get the lawful rights and privileges according to the United Nations charters. Secondly, even if there is no state, for example, to exercise the right of jihad in the form of self-defense, even then what is happening? Even then, in any case, the worst comes to worst. No one is allowed to commit suicide bombing against civilian population, whether they are Israelites or they are Americans, they are British or they are Europeans. Nobody is allowed to commit suicide bombing on non-combatant civilians. Nobody is allowed to commit terroristic acts on civilian population, because this act was prohibited even during warfare, as I already explained. So the acts which were being taken up and given the name of jihad itself, they are crimes according to Islamic teachings. They should raise their voice politically, peacefully. They should use the peaceful, political, constitutional, international means and ways through the Arab states, Islamic states, through the through the UNO, and whatever is possible they can do. But if there are, for example, two states, when Israel or any other state, neighboring state, fight with each other, so militaries have always right to fight each other or whatever they do on the battlefield. Not the organizations, they are not allowed. They can get recruited in the army. They can get recruited in the military properly, and they should fight as military men against the militaries in the battlefield. But killing the Jewish community or killing the Christian community or killing the Muslim community or the human communities, those who are non-combatants and those who are civilians, this is absolutely not allowed in any circumstance. Thank you.
But the lawful defense, not killing of non-combatants, but lawful defense. You're saying Palestinians could join an army? What are you saying about specifically
No, if they want to do, they would have become a proper part of the army, joined and proper part of an army, so that they may, as a military, proper military as recruitment, so that they may do whatever they want to do in a proper, according to a state. If state announces a war, then they would be a part of the army of a particular state, if certain state allows. And if they want to do something on their own, so this is not allowed, then they have to act upon the conduct of Prophet, peace be upon him, which he adopted in the first 14 years of Mecca. Same situation was there. There were many Muslims in Mecca who did not migrate along with him to Medina. They were inhabitants in Mecca. And as I mentioned, they were being killed. There were acts of persecution and cruelty, and killings were being committed against them. Everything was being done. Quran mentioned in Surah An-Nisa, فَمَا لَكُمْ لَا تُقَاتِلُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَالْمُسْتَضْعَفِينَ مِنَ الرِّجَالِ وَالنِّسَاءِ وَالْوِلْدَانِ الَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا أَخْرِجْنَا مِنْ هَذِهِ الْقَرْيَةِ ظَالِمِ أَهْلُهَا. The whole situation has been prescribed in Surah An-Nisa. But even these 13 days, everything was being done. But none of the companions took arm against the civilian population of Mecca. Neither Holy Prophet allowed any group to go and take revenge, because they are killing our Muslim brothers in Mecca. So this step was taken as a self-defense or against the aggression by the state. Now the situation is changed since an international treaty has been done through UNO. The best way is to come politically, to use their constitutional right to talk of human rights, come to UNO and develop their political pressure as a community, through the states, through the world, they should bring their voice up so that United Nations, through the proper constitutional international law means, they should take certain steps. In any case, whatever happens, worst comes to us, no organization or group is allowed to take up arms and kill the non-combatants or civilians.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Qamar. Shaykh-ul-Islam, I've had the privilege of listening to you for the third time this time, so I'm going to, I have two questions which are interlinked. But before I mention the questions, let me compliment you on this a combination of this articulation which is very spirited, combined with the logic which is irrefutable. I think that combination is rare, and please accept my heartfelt compliments for that.
Thank you very much.
My question is, when you lay down the principles, the conditions under which defensive warfare can be conducted, there are very high principles involved. Apart from the very obvious of not killing women, children, old men, and so forth, and priests and protecting churches and so forth, they're also protecting the environment, as I hear you, trees, animals, and so forth. One, as a matter of curiosity, to what extent did the Geneva Convention and the new charters actually derive from some of the Islamic principles as laid out in the Quran 1400 years ago? Number one. My second question, which is linked to this, is about the Kharijites. It's extremely intriguing because the projection, or the proclamation that this will occur again and again until the Antichrist comes along, and the definitions given and the kind of people they're going to be seems to be pretty much identical to what's going on today. Now, I am a retired director of operations of the World Bank, so my own bent is towards the development side rather than the destructive side of reconciliation, if you like. Something which all parties talk about, but I think very insufficient action is taken in that regard. Is there any injunction, given the fact that a lot of the recruitment, the Taliban and the other people, is on the basis of people coming from marginal areas, poverty, lack of voice, and so forth, deprived of something or the other, under which they turn towards these extreme practices of the Kharijites? Is there something in the Quran which says how we can change the hearts and minds before these people actually make the change to these directions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, answering your second question first, because I forgot what first question was. Then when I finish the answer, then I'll ask again briefly. So, just you can give me a hint. So there is definitely a positive injunction in Holy Quran and in Prophet Sunnah to change their hearts and minds so that they may get rid of these criminalistic or terroristic activities, and they may think toward the developmental aspect to win their hearts. The Quranic verse which refers to mu'allafatul qulub, the verse of sadaqat, the verse of charity, a specific portion was fixed for winning the hearts of the people so that their mindset is changed. Mu'allafatul qulub, it continued. So the money was spent on them to take them away from poverty, and the Baitul Mal, it was ordained by the Holy Prophet and the Caliphate that Baitul Mal was open for Jews and non-Muslim and Christians so that they also get the economic support. Not only the Muslims. Muslims, of course, definitely, but even non-Muslims, so that they are supported socially and economically. They are upgraded. Their economic deadlock is resolved. They feel happy in a society, respectable place. They can gain respectable place. And that's why how through the social reforms, educating them, providing them economic necessities, upgrading them their status, this is how you change their mindset and win their hearts. This is the Quran. And same was the practice of Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. Even in those days when Makkah was at war, but Makkah was not in the state of treaty, it was in state of war, and always planning fights and wars against Medina. Even in those days, once there was a big qahat, a famine, very big, and it was reported to Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. Holy Prophet, two events. He sent a lot of gold and coins and gold to Mecca and ordered Abu Sufyan to distribute this among the poor. And he is distributing this among the poor of a state at war. And second time, he sent the money and to ask Abu Sufyan and one another leader of Mecca, and he refused to receive, and Abu Sufyan received it. And they distributed it among the poor of Meccans, non-believers and mushrikeen Meccans. They were distributed. Third time again the same thing happened, and Abu Sufyan came to Holy Prophet ﷺ, and he raised his hands and made supplication to Almighty Allah, so that Almighty Allah brings rains, gives rains to them and provide them economic prosperity. So the best way is to provide economic prosperity, to provide them education, to take them out of the poverty, to remove poverty alleviation. Act of charity was done for them. So these things are necessarily required, and these are the answers for today too. One is the military way of terminating them, but the other way is this through social reform, providing them facilities. This was what happened in War of Afghanistan initially, when it was known as Jihad, when the Afghans were fighting against the Russian occupation. After 10-11 years war, when everything was finished and Russia was defeated, everybody who put all these people in Afghan war, they came back. And these people who were trained for 14 years to fight Russia, they were left on their own. So there were no infrastructure, no education, no economic support, no social support. US came back, and Saudi Arabia came back, and Pakistan came back. And I say all these three great muftis of the world who declared jihad, the war of Afghanistan, the US, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, all together, and many countries. Of course the Afghans were fighting the war of defense, war of independence, but when it was fought, everybody, the mistake committed by US and all other partners of the Western countries and Muslim countries together was everybody left Afghanistan, and those people were left, nothing to do. They were neither engineers, nor doctors, no infrastructure, no money, no jobs, nothing. Finally, what were they supposed to become? Finally, they were just supposed to become terrorists. They took up arms and started fighting in Kashmir. When those border was blocked for them, then they started fighting in Pakistan. They became sectarian terrorists. And when sectarian terrorism was little bit curtailed, then they started fighting in those particular areas where up till today the war of terror is going on. So we have seen the results of not attending them, providing them social things. So this is the way given by Quran and the Sunnah of Holy Prophet. What was your first?
It's about the UN Charter, the Geneva Convention.
Yes. I would say whatever UN Charter has given on the subject of war and peacemaking, and Geneva Convention, whatever it has been given on the US on the peacemaking, even the Security Council resolutions, when they were passed in 1990, then 1992, in case of Kosovo, when there was permission was given for collective interference against the abuse of human rights. All these developments up till today on the subject of war and peacemaking, to me, as a humble student of Islam and classical sciences and Islamic law, they are absolutely in consonance with Quranic teachings and Islamic teachings. I don't find any conflict in UN Charter and Geneva Convention. I won't say like this that they have derived this from Quran and Sunnah. No, this would be not fair to